Hey, good afternoon, class. I want to just take a few minutes to talk a little bit about this week's discussion board and of course, or actually last week's and the one that is upcoming for this week. The discussion board number 2 is graded, it is up, and I was able to see the quiz and see that some of you did very well. Others, it was a little bit more challenging, and I hope that in light of the fact that you have now taken one of the quizzes, you will be better equipped to do better on the next ones. And they are difficult, but I think if you can make sure that you discipline yourself to have plenty of time to study and to review the reading, that you'll be able to do a much better job in the next few weeks with the quizzes. Now, I did want to mention a couple things based upon discussion board number 2. First thing is this: it is very, very important that you properly cite your sources. When one does not cite any idea or information that you glean from a source and you put that into something that you've written and you don't cite it, that's tantamount to plagiarism, which is a very serious offense. So it becomes very important that you always cite your sources in a footnote. That may mean that you'll have to take a look at the style manual to find out what is the proper way to cite a footnote in the discussion board based upon what source you're using. But anytime that you use an idea or you gather information from the textbook or from another source, you have to cite that when you use it. Each and every time when you make a quote, you've got to cite the source. So make sure that you're citing your sources thoroughly and completely. The last thing that I want to have to do is to create an incident report because students are not properly citing sources and are plagiarizing. That's a serious offense, and so you need to make sure that you're doing that properly. This issue came up, in fact, in our faculty meeting last week. Many students are failing to properly cite their sources, and this is a very serious problem, so make sure that you are doing that. It's going to benefit you in the long run because all of your classes are going to really have you cite some type of source properly. So make sure you learn it now. Get it out of the way, get that nailed down, and just use it properly. If you have any questions about that, let me know. I'll be more than happy to help in any way I can, but make sure you take a good look at the style manual. This is going to become even more important as we move to our paper, because not only we have different kinds of sources that you need to be citing, but you'll have to deal with matters not only of footnotes but also bibliography, and those two forms are different, so make sure you take note of that. In fact, let me just mention this real quick about the paper. I know that I harp on this week in, week out, but that paper is going to be due before you know it, so make sure that you're doing the proper research that you need. Gather all your sources, begin reading, taking notes, and begin to identify what special area you want to focus on, whether it be a person or a period or an ideology like Hellenism or whatever the case might be, and then gather a few extra resources about that specific topic. Make sure you take note of the proper use of the title page form. And if you're going to do a table of contents, it's important that you use the proper form for that as well. Also, look at the proper headings. That's going to be important. Margins are always 1 inch all the way around. Page numbers as well. You need to make sure you see the proper form for that. I know it seems overwhelming, but once you look over it, it's really a little bit more simple than it seems. Now, in terms of the discussion boards, I want to make sure that number one, you're reading the directions. Each discussion board, your original posts, you have to do 2 of them, answer 2 of the questions, and answer each part of that question as thoroughly as possible. For your replies, you need to have 2 citations per reply, so make sure you're following those directions. Sometimes students are failing to do that, so that's important because I want you guys to get the best grade possible. So you got to get the citations in, and also you have to answer each part of the question with as much detail as possible. So please do that. A great example would be with the question this past week on Jesus' birth, ministry, and death. putting in all the critical data that help us establish those dates is very, very important. So, you know, the lunar eclipse that helps us to understand Herod's death that year, that's a critical piece of data. Understanding, you know, how the 15th year of Tiberius's rule, how that plays into understanding, you know, Jesus' ministry, when it started approximately. And then of course, you know, with Jesus' crucifixion, how Nisan 14 you know, fell on a Thursday in AD 33, which most likely points to the crucifixion being on AD 33. So those types of things become important. And there was a few other, at least one other piece of data that was helpful. That would have been, you know, the temple renovation and the 46 years that it took for that, and how that's connected to a specific piece of information. But anyway, just make sure you answer each part of the question in as much detail as possible. This week you got some questions that I think are fairly straightforward. Make sure you do the reading on the synoptic problem. That's going to really help you understand exactly what that is. So the first question this week is dealing specifically, what is the synoptic problem? What does it mean? What does it refer to? Are there really any problems? And just answer again, making sure you answer each part of that one. The next one has to do with the various theories that have been proposed for solving the synoptic problem. There's several of them. You have to mention every one of them, define them thoroughly, so that I understand that you know exactly what each one of them means. And then the last question has to do with what are form criticism, source criticism, and redaction criticism. You may have to do a little digging in your reading to find out exactly what the definitions for each one of those are, but make sure you do that digging. It's a pretty straightforward question, and I think that you'll be able to tackle it fairly well. And then, you know, just make sure you let me know which one you think is most helpful for the solving of the synoptic problem, most useful for the synoptic problem. Although all three are helpful in some form or fashion, there's one specific criticism that is more, I guess, applicable to the issue of the synoptic problem. But you guys will do great. Just answer each part of the question like I've repeatedly mentioned, and you guys will be fine. So keep on working hard. You guys are really doing a great job, and I know it can be difficult at times to juggle all the various responsibilities that you have, but you know, just carve out time for reading, for studying, and for writing, and just stick to it. Just persevere, even when you don't feel like it. You got to get it done. But listen, I'm available if you have any questions or you need help with something. More than happy to help. Again, that's my role. I'm here to help you guys. So make sure that if you're in a pickle, or if you have a question, just shoot me an email and I'll do my best to answer it. Okay? You guys have a great week. Blessings.